Good morning, good afternoon as it is now. I am just going to share my screen. And so whether you are watching from the comfort of your phone or from your laptop, or you are connected to me psychically, hello. As Laurie very kindly just said, my name is Mike Newman. I run a tourism marketing consultancy called B2ME Tourism Marketing, which I've run for about the last 18 years now. I've spent the last 22 years working in the travel trade. The areas that I specialize in are product training and improving the relationship between suppliers and buyers. So that's fundamentally what I do. I have been asked by Laurie very kindly to help produce a travel trade toolkit. And along with that, a workbook that I will talk to you about a little more shortly. The purpose of a toolkit is really very simple. It is to enlighten you, regardless of the size or type of your business, as to whether or not you are able to work with the travel trade. Now, that is a question in and of itself. What is the travel trade? What does it mean? Do I even care? And again, the toolkit is really going to try its level best to answer those questions. The what's, the how's, the why's, and fundamentally, do I care? And I'll tell you why I think you should care. This is a very, very obviously unusual time that we have found ourselves in, not for all the reasons that many of you are thinking about, but because it's a level playing field. It is something that has pretty much never happened in the history of travel and tourism. The biggest, most famous, humongous, well-funded products are in tiers 3, 4, or 5, as are the smallest, newest, least funded products. The point is, we are all quite literally, wherever you are in the UK, we're all in the same boat. Now, that has literally never happened. And whilst it's not good on so many levels that we just don't need to even view, it's brilliant from the perspective of working within the travel industry, because tour operators and online travel companies like TripAdvisor and a whole host of others are all looking for new product that needs to tick a very specific series of boxes. And the boxes that we need to tick need to be taken into the context of the way that the government in Scotland or the government in England thinks of their consumers, and the way that you and I need to think of our consumers. So if you look at the top 3 things here, we have phase 1, lockdown. Phase 2, the opening phase. Now, admittedly, that's incredibly stop-start. And phase 3, the new normal. Now, from a government perspective, Britain is in the opening phase. It's stop-start, but it is fundamentally in the beginnings of what the government would turn around and say, we are in the recovery phase. We're not in the turmoil, we're in recovery. Now, you can argue whether or not you believe that, but what I want to do is I want to share with you how the traveling public feels, and that includes all of our domestic audience. So we started off with a very short phase. It was the anger phase. It was the phase at which our liberties were taken away from us. It was the phase at which we were told we had to wear masks. It was the phase at which we were told we couldn't see our loved ones. That was our first phase. It was brutal, but actually, in the scheme of things, it was reasonably short. We then jumped to the relief phase, the phase 2. And this was really the phase that began over the summer, when the main lockdown stopped and people started being able to go out, to form bubbles, to start seeing people, start hearing about things like Christmas, and whatever that may mean, start being able to travel. Some of us got to have holidays within the UK. Some of us got to travel abroad briefly. Maybe we quarantined, maybe we didn't, depending on where we went. But it was the relief phase. And that phase led to where we're at now, which is really what you can call the apprehension phase. And this is this whole sense of can we, can't we? We're kind of blinking in the sunlight, if you like. The industry has predominantly been in forced hibernation. It has been buffeted horribly, but it is enormously resilient, as we all know, and as we all are. But the traveling public has now spun on its own axis, and it is saying very, very particular things. It is saying, I am frightened of booking directly, because I did loads of booking directly at Easter and into the early summer, and many of us are still waiting for our refunds. So what I'm now thinking is, I want to book through a travel agent, or I want to book through a tour operator, or I want to know that my money is safe. And if I have to cancel, and if I have to have COVID tests, and if I'm flying anywhere, and I want to know I'm fundamentally going to be safe when I get there, wherever the there is. It could be around the corner. It could be miles away. What they don't want to know any longer is there hand sanitizer on site? Are you exercising social distancing? That has been taken into account. What they want to know is what you are doing. They want to know not generically what's going on. They want to know what you personally are doing. So they need to know either directly or through the tour operator or travel agent that they ask that question of, what are you doing? So for example, if you are an accommodation provider, are you, for the sake of argument, maintaining a 24-hour closure on rooms between bookings? Are you removing touch points wherever possible in your restaurants or your self-service buffets? What are you doing specifically? If you are a visitor attraction, what are you doing? Are you, for example, allowing visitors to pre-book lunch at your cafe so that they could just pick it up rather than having to queue? Are you opening some parts of your houses and gardens in advance of other bits that are indoors? Are you advising tour operators, if they are bringing any of their clients in, how long to be on site now that you have got a different capacity for your indoor areas? These are all the things that individually you can answer because you are expert on. Because what will come eventually is the internalization. And the internalization is the moment when people just accept. So if we think back to, say, 2008, everyone could smoke in pubs and in restaurants, in cafes. If you smoked, you could sit there, you could have a fag between courses, and you could stow it out. And if there was a child sitting next to you, well, there was a child sitting next to you. And if there was a non-smoker sitting next to you, well, there was a non-smoker sitting next to you, whatever. One day, the government went, right, that's it. We're not going to allow smoking indoors anymore in pubs and restaurants. And some people went, that's it. It's the death of the pub. Nothing will ever recover. It's all finished. I'll never have a pint again. Except people did, because people smoked outside. Lots of people stopped smoking altogether. But very, very quickly, if you think about it now, we internalized the entire process of not smoking indoors. And it just became normal. And that's where we're going to go next, but we're not there yet. So the toolkit that I have created is 9 pages. Now that 9 pages includes the front cover and the back cover. So it's actually only 7 pages. It is not a tome, and I will share with you exactly what a toolkit looks like in a moment. It is designed to be useful, and therefore it is split into very, very clear sections, most of which really don't cover more than one side of A4. There is an introduction. What is the travel trade? What do they want? What do they need? Why do I care? What happens if I'm not a travel trade product? Those are the kind of things which we look at first. We then define everything, and we then look at what the wants and the needs are. And this includes things like commissions and net rates. We also talk about how to communicate with these third parties, what you need to say, and more importantly, what you don't need to say. How do you differentiate yourself from others? How do you prepare for things like the UK inbound virtual fam trip that you guys had last week? So when the next one comes, what can you do? How do you take forward your brand new, all shiny, singing and dancing travel trade relationships? And the final section is on insights and next steps. Now, it's all good to read about it, but you need to practice. You need to understand what you're doing, and you need to get it right. So what I've also done is I've created a little workbook for you, and that has 2 separate practicals for you to work on. Now, I know, and you know, that there are loads and loads of phrases and acronyms that will come up, and you may well be sitting there going, I genuinely have no idea what this guy is chatting about. It wouldn't happen for the first time, and it definitely won't be the last time. So I'm also giving you access to this. This is called Travel Trade Ready. It is a web portal that I have developed. You can access it yourself at www.traveltradeready.net. And right at the top, there is a link for a jargon buster. And the reason I've included a jargon buster is because speaking travel trade is learning another language. It simply is nonsensical unless you know what you're talking about and you understand what the phrases mean. So you have a jargon buster which will explain in very, very clear English, written by my very good self, what it is that I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you, you lucky, lucky, lucky people. I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment. I'm also going to get rid of that. I do apologize. I will get rid of that. That was not meant to happen. I will get rid of that. There you go. That's gone. I will stop sharing just for a moment, and I will start sharing again with the new deck that I wanted to show you. Just give me a second. So this, you very, very, very lucky people, is you're all singing and all dancing. Visit Morris Speyside Travel Trade Toolkit. So hopefully you can see this reasonably clearly on your screens. You have your introduction page. You'll note I'm big on pretty pictures and I'm small on text. I write literally as little as I can possibly get away with because I just want you to understand the concepts that I'm creating so that you can go, okay, thank you, I get that. So we start off with our 5 objectives, and they are very clear. They are identifying what the travel trade want and need, managing your expectations and concerns, developing your bookable or added value product into a viable option for international and or domestic visitors, and keeping it there. Identifying what information is and is not needed, and developing your marketing into a valuable resource for the travel trade. Talk about who it's aimed at. Very, very importantly, I talk here about what happens if you don't fit. I am not interested in making square pegs fit into round holes. That is not the purpose. You have to be comfortable. But I'm giving you sneak insights into working out maybe what you think is an issue, but perhaps actually, if you recontextualize it, is less of an issue. this little guide, I'm not going to go through every single bit of it here. We can chat about it on a Q&A, or you can switch on your mics and you can ask me questions and I will respond. I want you to be able to stand up on your own feet, be confident, be comfortable in working with the industry, and know that Murray's Bayside, know that Laurie, know that I are there, and we've got your back. So we have very, very clear definitions. What is the travel trade? Who are they and what do they want? How you guys fit in? What makes a trade-friendly product? All the detail is here. Everything you need is here. It's all written down. Considerations for the world in which we currently live in. And then the first of two practicals. Practice makes perfect, as the saying goes, and it is incredibly important that you take these practicals seriously and you think about it. I'm not going to go through them all now, but you can see it here on the screen, what it is that you need to do, and everything is set up for you to achieve it. We talk about commissions and net rates. Why do we talk about them? Because they are the biggest fear factor. Why should I, as a small business, give money to a third party when I can sell just as well through my own website or through word of mouth? Well, I go through all of the explanation, and I will very, very gladly speak to you about it as much as you need. I am giving you some warnings here. It's very, very tempting right now to go out on sale, but you have to bear in mind that going out on sale has a certain responsibility if you're also being sold through third parties. And for all your accommodation providers, I must point out, as I've had this conversation a number of times, if you sell through booking.com or any of the other accommodation consolidating websites, that is travel trade sales. It is a third-party sale, and you need to be very careful about how you price yourself directly on your own website or any tactical offers that you run against offers that are on booking.com, etc. So we're also going to talk about what the travel trade need from you, how you present your product, what makes your product useful to the travel trade. My 3 R's: reliable, replicable, and robust. What do I mean? I explain. Other things for you to consider. Then we talk about communications, the do's and the don'ts. And I can promise you the don'ts far outweigh the do's, which is good because it means you don't need to spend vast amount of time working out what to say. Less is considerably more. I give you some insights, which means that, which I explain very carefully, and what it means in our context. And then, in case I haven't given you enough insights, I give you a few more insights. And then I'm going to give you a practical. Now, this is more complex, and I'll talk about it in a minute. It formulates the backbone of how you present your product. And again, I will share the screen to explain what I mean. Then finally, we wrap up with a couple of feel goods, a little bit on about how to write a press release, and finally, how to get in touch. Laurie, I know you already know how to get in touch with, but here's how you can get in touch with me. So very quickly, before I stop chatting, I will stop sharing one more time, and I will share my screen for a last time. And I will just work through with you what the toolkit looks like. So here is the toolkit. And if okay. So this is the first practical task. This is how you write your elevator pitch. Some of you have heard of an elevator pitch before, I'm sure. Others of you may not. So what you will do is you don't open this up as a slideshow, but you actually keep it in the edit format so that you can write in it. The first task is for you to describe your product or your service in 50 words, and then reduce that to 10 words, and ultimately reduce it to 3 words. Now, you may think you can't do that, but I assure you absolutely can do it. And you will be surprised at how much you can laser focus your absolute core assets into 3 words. It does work, I absolutely assure you. That's your first practical task. Your second practical task, I've written quite detailed instructions here. It is a template for you to prioritize the information that you need to share with a tour operator, and that the tour operator or any other third party that you may choose to work with can share with their sales team. This is how you make your product sing, even if you're not there to sing it yourself. It's something I've developed over a number of years called Instant Expert, and it splits your facts into 3 sets: need to know, good to know, and did you know. All the explanations are here. And then the form itself, you fill this in yourself, and it must, and this is the imperative, it must fit on this side of paper. Now, you can't see it because I'm not in edit mode, but I shall show you very quickly. And I apologize if it's small. You can create your own image here. You can just add your images. All you do is you touch here, like this, and it will open up your file finder within your own computer. So you can drop in images. Images will be dropped in automatically, and they will be resized automatically. Again, you write your text here, your need to know facts. If we go back a page, I've explained what your need to know facts need to include. You then add in your good to know facts. And then most importantly of all, your did you know facts. These are your first person insights. So these are the things, if you were in the room and you were saying to somebody, the thing I love most about my product is this. And it might be the view out of my window is this. It might be the age of my building is that. It might be my favorite thing in the collection is this. It might be on my self-catering, there is a farm shop, and this is the only place where you can get this. These are the things, because by the time that you are being sold to a third party, it could be that you are being sold from a warehouse in Wisconsin to someone who has no idea what your product is, but armed with the did you know fact, can make it sound like they were with you just yesterday. And they can say things like, do you know what I really love about this little bed and breakfast? It's the fact that it's situated here, and at sunset you get this view, and their course fishing is astonishing. Now, they may not have any idea about this, but you have painted the most beautiful picture with your did you know facts. And as a result of those beautiful pictures that you have painted in the mind's eye, someone else can sell you with the same degree of passion that you have. That's what the workbook is about. I am here to help you. I am going to stop sharing now, and I am going to say to you, here I am. Please feel free to ask me any questions. Switch on your microphone, switch on your cameras. Don't be shy. I will answer difficult questions, easy questions, nondescript questions. Over to you, chaps.
I've got one. How long will this take? From, so we're sitting in December. The travel trade works quite far in advance, doesn't it?
So, in truth, we are very unlikely to get any international business from Japan, South Korea, China until Q3 of next year. The US, you're unlikely to get any international business until the year after. The UK, you could be getting business as soon as We have a widely accepted vaccine, so it could be post-Easter, early summer. So we have time. Your roles now are to get your ducks in a row, prioritize the markets that you want to target, and assess the timeline to go with that. There is literally no magic bullet right now. So the other thing is also to say that outside of the weather, which is obviously a major factor, the idea of what is high season, shoulder season, and low season has gone completely out of the window. Because if the international markets start traveling in October 2021, that is high season. If the people come, you know, accommodation availability goes down, prices go up. So the traditional concept of high season is different. The other thing is also to say the type of business that you will be receiving. One thing that is unified across all markets is that what we have always determined to be the leisure market, i.e. 100, 150 people coming off one of the cruise lines, getting into 3-4 coaches, we're not going to see that. We are going to see small groups of probably less than 10. We're going to see driver guides because visitors are going to want to have one driver for the duration of their trip. We are going to see family groups or people well known to each other. It's going to be much more in line with what we would previously have perceived to be our corporate business. So no large volumes, small groups. They will all be willing to spend more money to keep away from other people. People will be asking for private tours. People may be asking for out of hours. People will be asking very pertinent questions about what your capacity is. People will be looking for accommodation options that they may previously have not considered. You know, traditionally speaking, fewer than 7 bedrooms would have been a no-no for the travel trade. Not so anymore. Everything is up for grabs right now.
So that's quite reassuring from our perspective, I think. So in previous years, people say, oh, you know, we need to go for the cruise market. We need to go for this market. And I think we always, you know, it's actually a competitive advantage or competitive advantage. Sorry, I dropped my T's there. That we are not traditionally over touristed, that we do have capacity. So the things that potentially may have been seen as drawbacks in the past, so we don't have huge hotels. We have really authentic, interesting, quality hotels of a size and accommodation, guest houses and B&Bs and self-catering. So that for me feels a little bit like that's where the tourists are going. That's where visitors want now. Now on this call today, there are accommodation providers and visitor attractions. So is there a different approach? A, for a visitor attraction. B, not all of the visitor attractions charge. So if I'm a free visitor attraction, but I have a cafe or additional service, how can we package that sort of stuff up? I mean, I'm looking here at our lovely friends from the Dolphins.
Charge is not a hindrance. Being free of charge means you're adding value. So you are destination led, and therefore if your non-charging museum or a similar attraction offers something that can bring the destination into context, can offer something on history, insight, experiences, that's all great. Just because you don't charge, if you have volunteers who are knowledgeable or curator-like, you could do talks, which you can charge for. If you have a visitor attraction which has particularly locally sourced food, one of a kind, or certainly very, very representative of the area, highlight it. Because if you have space and because group sizes are going to be very small, people can come in and eat afternoon tea, or they can have locally caught seafood or locally reared farm meat, whatever. Anything that is experience led is going to be good right now. So whether it's field to fork or whether it's, you know, from the river or from the sea, it's all good. Literally nothing is off the table right now.
Except dolphins, because
Except
whilst we
dolphins.
like to
They
eat,
are, they tend to, well, yeah, they tend to
we
be
are
off the table.
we are non-dolphins. Okay, so I'm going to hold up some pieces of paper here, hopefully within GDPR compliance, so you can't read them.
Yeah.
So these are the notes and follow-ups from Scotland Reconnect, which was an online travel expo a few weeks ago at the end of November, where essentially a sort of online replacement for Visit Scotland Expo. So no particular detail in here. I have 23 appointments, and I'm just looking down, so 2:15 on Wednesday afternoon, things that this person was interested in from an American tour company, blah, 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 attractions, Dolphin Center, dark skies, northern lights, small, friendly, and authentic, boom. She brings small groups and individuals. I've got a lovely American one here asking for the same. People want what we've got. So this is really great. We don't have to be big. We don't have to be Urquhart Castle. We don't have to have a Loch Ness monster, because we have all the other good stuff in our award-winning coast or Speyside or our amazing distilleries or fantastic food and drink. Mm-hmm. So it's about working together. So I'm looking at Kyra from Gordon Castle. Hi, Kyra. So Gordon Castle is a wonderful, wonderful venue with more than you could possibly imagine. So historic house, kitchen garden, fabulous food and drink, great product line. There must be something really spectacular that Gordon Castle and similar visitor attractions can deliver for Travel Trade. You know, this added value package thing.
I've been talking with a golf course company, slightly out of region there within Aberdeenshire. But one of the things that they are looking at, so if you have golf specialists within your group, this is something you might want to share. The top flight courses, the championship courses, are not likely to be the mainstay for the next couple of years. Too difficult to get tee time, too many queues. They're looking at second flight golf courses, and within that, because they're looking at driver guides, they are also looking at time to explore castles, gardens, houses, small specialist areas. They're looking at something very, very different. It's not just the old course at St Andrews anymore. Of course, that's relevant, but it is absolutely not the be all and end all. And for the majority of people, a links course is a links course. And those that say, no, I must play this links course and only this one, they were going to do it anyway. They don't need a golf operator to achieve that goal. So for any one of you, I've just seen, Alison, you said you're planning tours for family bubbles. Yeah, 100%. Keep it simple, because I'll give you an example. I was working with a farmer, basically, and she attended one of the workshops that I ran, and she said, I have Highland cattle, and I have some of the best locally reared beef that you can find, and I don't really know how to work with this travel trade thing that you keep jibber jabbering about. Can you please explain it to me? So we sat down together for about half an hour after the workshop, and we went through the instant expert template that you all have. And I got her to think and to rethink and to rethink and to rethink. She finally went, I've got it. I now know what to say. I can take small groups. I can welcome them into my home. They can sit down in my farm kitchen, and they can then eat the meat that they have pretty much just seen in the fields. She took it out to the travel trade, and I got a phone call from her a few months later, and she said, Mike, I have to tell you something. And I was like, oh, what's happened? And she said, I've started working with a tour operator, and now they are bringing me clients once a week, every week for 7 months of the year. And I just don't know what to do, because they've just told me that they want to pre-book £70,000 worth of business with me. I'm going to have to employ more people. It is not the obvious products that always get the biggest bite of the cherry. It is the most personal ones. And Jenna, you've just asked, how would you charge for a family bubble or private group? One price for up to 6, or still price per person? Because group sizes are small, to a degree, there are 2 ways you can do this. And I don't want to complicate this, but you can go one of 2 ways. If you could charge individually, and you can say, my per person charge is this up to 6 people, but I can cope with a maximum of 10. Therefore, if it's 7, then it's a lower charge. Or you can do what we like to call a single price point, which basically means that what you do is equivalently, you create a group rate for a minimum of 1 person up to the maximum number of people that you can have with you at one time. Because that way, the tour operator may bring you 5 people one morning and 7 people one afternoon. But for them, it's much easier if they're just paying you the same amount of money each and every time. So I would suggest, if you are in a business where you can only tolerate small numbers, set your price and say it will be £75 for up to 6 people. Because you can have an individual rate and say my per person rate is 20 quid. But if it's not for an individual, just set a price that you are comfortable with. Bearing in mind, and again, use the toolkit to look at this, bearing in mind you will need to be paying a commission of around 20%. So you need to be comfortable that whatever the price is that you charge, you'll be getting 80% of that revenue. So,
okay, so that's really helpful, Mike, because that was where I'm going to go next. I think, I mean, again, people on the call tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's one of the concerns people have on working with the trade is, how do we deal with commissions and trade rates and net rates, and what is it? I mean, at a very simple level, if you're doing business on an OTA, you're paying them 20% to have your property listed. It's essentially the same thing, isn't it?
It is absolutely the same thing. And the biggest thing to say about commissions or net rates, whichever way you choose to go, is no win, no fee. You're not paying for any of the marketing that, whether it's an OTA or a tour operator or a DMC does for you. You don't pay a penny for any of that. You don't pay towards the brochures. You don't pay towards the website builds. You don't pay towards the sales missions that these people go on. You don't pay for any of that. You pay for a confirmed sale, which means that you are generating 80% more money than you would have been. Because the people, as I said right at the start, increasingly people are worried about direct bookings at the moment, because a lot of people have been stung when they then couldn't travel. They didn't have a package pre-booked, so they were trying to get their money back, and it was difficult because lots of businesses didn't survive. So this is not cannibalizing your direct business. This is creating new revenue streams for you at 80% a pop.
So we've got different sizes of businesses here today. So we've got, self-catering. We've got self-catering in multiple units. We've got small hotel. We've got big hotel. Is the approach the same, or is the approach different?
The approach is fundamentally the same. The biggest thing to say, and this is to your large accommodation providers, what tour operators need, and this is very, very different. We'll talk about the OTA model. We'll talk about the Booking.com model in a minute. What a travel agent or a tour operator needs from you is a trade rate, i.e. a below best available public price, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round. They understand that you will have peak season and low season, so they will need two rates from you, your peak rate and your low rate. But they will want to have what is called free sale, which means that they will phone you or email you and they will say, I would like to book 3 rooms on Saturday, the 11th of July for 2 nights. And you will say, on the basis of the actual availability on the day you get your phone call, yes, we will give that to you. What they will not want you to do is to go onto your booking.com portal and look to see what your accommodation take up is for, say, the week before, see that you're getting busy, and then go, yeah, that rate that I quoted you before, it doesn't count anymore. It's just gone up 18 quid per person. It really, really upsets people, and they won't work with you. And you will be a non-contributor to your local tourism economy through the travel trade if you don't play ball with the travel trade. You will continue to fill your room, you know, through booking.com or through your own website or whatever, but you will miss out on guaranteed revenues from the travel trade. Bearing in mind, booking.com's commission rate will vary according to how many rooms you have available, because they will aim to fill every room. So your commissions will move up and down according to the availability. And they are seriously, seriously money-grabbing organizations. That is how they work. A tour operator will have a fixed price with a fixed commission with you all year round. It's dependable business. And if you're small and you are a lodge or a cabin, then what you need to do is you need to start focusing on your upsells. So if, for example, you have your log cabins are built on a farm, create arrival packages with fresh meat or a vegetarian alternative, fresh eggs, or a vegan alternative. Use your produce, build it up into a package. And if you say, I need minimum 3 nights, well, it may be that you're not going to get 3 night stays at the moment. So have 2 night stays with slightly more money. And if you need 24 hours between bookings to make sure that your premises are completely clean, for example, and you bring in someone to come in and do a deep clean from the village or wherever it is, charge for it. The tour operator doesn't care. Just tell them what the price is. They don't want to know whether or not that includes the deep clean. They do want to know the deep clean happens, but they don't care that it's cost them, or more to the point, it's cost their client an extra 23 quid. And if, as I've had an example before, oh, we can only book Friday, Saturday, Sundays because our cleaner won't come out on a Sunday to clean. So, you know, we have to do a 3 night weekend stay. I'm like, why don't you pay your cleaner more? Get them to come out on a Sunday. So you can do a Friday and Saturday night stay. Again, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you present your product. So you can upsell with local produce so that in the fridge on arrival, there is some beautiful beef, or there's some wonderful salmon, or there's whatever, eggs, bacon. Yeah. Say we offer a vegetarian and a meat option. We can also offer a vegan option if that's what people want. Then the tour operator says to their client, if you book here in this dark skies, beautiful area as part of your sustainable no-fly trip, you can store your bike safely because you have built secure bike locks onto the side of your lodge. We have got fresh produce which has come from 60 feet away. You are upselling continuously and you are creating the most amazing, memorable products. And it really doesn't matter that you've only got sleeping space for 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever it is.
Okay. So my next question, because this is all fun and good stuff. In 5 weeks, we are attending, I guess, the first show of the year, which is Britain and Ireland Marketplace. Mm-hmm. So I guess the clue is in the title on that. So our job will be to represent the region at that level.
Yep.
To say, we're Murray Speyside, we're great, we've got everything you want. But underneath that, what we need is to actually have product which we can have a meaningful discussion with the dozens of people that we will meet about. Yep, it's the Stotfield Hotel, it's the Clooney Bank, it's the Dolphin Centre, it's Strathyla, it's the Golf View. So for us, what we need is, I guess, you guys to work through your workbooks.
Yep.
Think about your pricing so that by the end of next month, hopefully a little bit before, we've got 10 sets of trade rates at the very least for the guys on this call. Because then the next month, we're off to Explore GB, which is the big Visit Britain show, beginning of March. And I think it's maybe a little bit later in March, we're going to ITB Berlin. Now, all of these are virtual this year, but that is within 3 months, 3 massive opportunities to showcase product to the travel trade. So we need to be able to sell it, take the contacts and take the prospect, pass those on to the operators in the room here today. So that sound about right.
And if any of you on this call want to share your instant expert document, your template with me, I'll go through it with you. Not a problem at all. So work on it, write it down, think about how you would present your product yourself. The more you can arm Laurie with the insights and the need to know and the good to know facts, the better you will be positioned to take advantage of any business that's coming in your general direction. And I'm very much hoping if the finger of fate is pointing in my general direction, that I'm going to be working with Laurie for a good while yet, and I will become a resource for you to help build your travel trade positioning and keep you there. Because in the end, it's not about your DMO. It is about you and how confident you feel to go to market, any market. You're not going to be right for all markets. It's really important to say that. And this is in the toolkit as well. You cannot get yourself into a position where I've had examples of someone targeting a corporate event that was going to make him a shed load of cash, but it would have required them bringing in dozens of additional staff that they didn't have. It would have required them putting up marquees, and they realized very, very quickly that the temporary staff overhead and the marquee hire costs basically meant it would be breaking even if they were lucky. And that was assuming that nothing went wrong. So don't target business you can't easily handle. Just be brilliant at what you do and stick to it. Because in the end, you have to be honest as well. Do any of you, and thank you very much for the comments that are coming up on the chat, but do any of you want to ask anything of me? Like I say, I'm here, so if you want to unmute yourselves or switch your video cameras on and ask me anything really, or you can be shy.
I'm going to ask a question on behalf of Nakando Wool Mill, because I fear Zoom said to me earlier that Emily's using an older version of Zoom, so she might not be able to speak. So I'm going to assume something, and I'm going to ask. So we have a heritage wool mill in space in a wonderful part of our region. It's pretty small, it's very compact, it's a wonderful trip through history. How can I package that? How can we make sure that, people think what are they called? People think textiles. They think Johnsons of Elgin. Okay, yeah, Johnsons of Elgin are one. They're very big. They're very good. They have a lovely offer, but so too the Nakando. So how can we make sure that we get the best of everything in?
So again, your focus is artisan. Your focus is local. Your focus is sustainability. Yes, of course, it's Johnson's of Elgin. Yes, of course, well, sadly, there was Edinburgh Woolen Mill. People will always buy a representation of their experience, whether it's a scarf or a hat or, an Arran knit jumper from the Isle of Arran. What you have to remember is that for the world in general, Harris tweed, they don't understand that means it's from Harris. They don't understand that Arran knit is from Arran. So what your job is to showcase what your knit is, where your sheep are from. Introduce them to Flossie and Bessie and whoever. Show them the process that goes through from the shear. If they're in the right time of year, get them to watch shearing. Get them to watch the spinning, get them to watch the dyeing process, get them to watch whatever it is. Make it yours. Because people are buying experience. Give them the opportunity to put a bobbin on a reel. And I apologize if that's completely wrong terminology. But
it might be.
Yeah, probably. Let people do it. It is this experience that makes so much difference to everyone. Years ago, there's a jewelers in Hatton Garden in London, and they run one of the only what's called Imagery schools. And Imagery is the art of stone cutting. And so they didn't let them do it with precious stones, but they did it with semi-precious stones. But they learned how to use the drills. They learned how to shape the stone so that they could actually say, I made this. I didn't just buy it. I actually literally had a hand in creating this thing. So if that's possible, if you can run off, the first couple of rows on a locally produced scarf with Joe Public, that scarf will mean more to them than anything that they've ever owned.
Okay. Last question from me. And Jenna hand up, which is brilliant. So I like that, hands up. So last question for me is about imagery and pictures and photography. I know ultimately it boils down to the money and the price, but it presumably boils up to how attractive does the proposition look at the level we're talking about it. So if we're on an online discussion with the travel buyer, we need to have good imagery to show the rooms and the general areas and the surroundings, etc.
You do, yes. But I'm going to give you another little insight. Over the last 8-9 months, an awful lot of people have been investing in drone footage. And they have showcased the most wonderful vistas. And they have shown, they've chosen to fly up on a beautiful day like it is here in Hertfordshire. I don't know what the weather's like with you guys, but out here, for once, the sun is shining, the sky is blue. The problem is it's an entirely sanitized view of the product. People buy people. And this is something I say often when, don't get me wrong, I'm not against champagne and canapes. I like them. But when I say to a client, so I say to any of you guys, if I come to your product, are you going to give me a glass of champagne on arrival and caviar? Are you? Because if you're not, when I'm paying to come in, why are you giving a glass of champagne and caviar on a fam trip? It's not real. You're just spending good money. Thank you, Paul, for pointing out the sun always shines in Murray. It's probably very, very true.
It's true.
Don't spend good money on something that's not real. So again, do you need high quality imagery? Yeah, ideally. But do you know what? If there's two of you and one of you can talk to an iPhone or an Android phone, or to a tablet, and the other one of you can hold it, and you can walk somebody around and you can go, here's my favorite room in my lodge of the two, because here is the wood burner. And these are the trees that we cut down to go and show you where the wood comes from. And in fact, if you listen over there, that's the sound of the tractor. We're bringing in some wood for the next people. That is meaningful. yet another professionally produced, beautiful set of imagery, very, very expensive drone footage, etc., etc. It's fine, it's wonderful, but right now it completely goes against the grain.
Yep.
The
It's
last
good
thing
to have.
people want to see are empty bedrooms, empty, empty lounge bars, a roaring fire with no one in it, food sitting on a table with no one eating it. Because all it says is that we miss you. And whilst that's perfectly true, it doesn't give any sense whatsoever of the happy, smiling, relaxed faces of people clinking china and, drinking beer.
Yeah. Okay, good. So that's all I think that's all reassuring. Now, I think Jenna has a little blue hand up.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure if I can. Hello, Jenna.
Hello. I just had one other question. At the moment, we can't operate to our full capacity because we don't have access to production areas to do distillery tours. So when I am approaching tour operators and things, do I plan for everything to be back to normal, or do I offer what we're offering just now with the caveat that we may be able to offer added value as the year progresses? Which approach is best?
Jenna, we never ever talk about what we can't offer, ever. Saying what we can't do is tantamount to saying we've got half a product. What you have is you have an amazing product, and under the current circumstances, your amazing product has a reduced time on site from, say, an hour and 15 to, say, 45 minutes, because that takes into account the areas that people can move around within the distillery. As you very rightly say, it may well be that as situations change, we are able to offer an extended tour. This is so we move from our core tour to our more extensive VIP tour, which includes X, Y, and Z additional product. It's all about the upsell. Everybody on the other side of the table, because remember, this travel trade's a partnership. So everything on the other side of the table, people get it. What the travel trade want and need are your rates, and they need to know what the product is that is on offer. And they need to know that that product is going to be on offer, give or take anything, even more disrupting happening right the way through to 2022.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely go with what you've got and say, we are planning autumn 2021 to be able to offer a limited number of opportunities to access, small specialist areas of our product. Does that help?
It does, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think so. Good. Wow. Right. So next is, what do we do next? Lead us by the nose.
So I will ask you, Laurie, very kindly to distribute the workbook and the toolkit. I will point out again that my email address and my phone number are on the last page of the toolkit. I will invite you all to give me a phone call or ask me for a Zoom call. I will say to you, let's do this together. And I will also wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Well, that's all pretty good. So that next year, which I hope is a happy new one, I can jump into Britain Ireland Marketplace with at least 8 new bits of product and at least 8 or 9 or 10 new operators that I can sell our region to them. So that's what I need, because I need to be able to bring business to you guys and then to help the region rebuild its tourism industry to where it previously was. So, okay, so after this, we will send out toolkit and workbook type stuff. We will make this available for those who didn't manage to get along. So we'll make it, apparently it's called on demand. So we'll make this webinar on demand. I'm at the end of whichever communication means you choose, as is Mike. And I guess that unless there are any more questions, I think that probably rolls it up. So we don't want to keep people too long.
Well, thank you all very much for your time. Thank you all for your very kind comments. I'm glad, or I hope each and every one of you has found this useful. Your feedback's very important. So once I'm off the call, if you want to drop Laurie a note and say that man was an idiot, feel free, or anything else, because, you know, I work, I've got a lot of experience of doing this, but equally every client group that I talk to is different. They have different expectations, different needs. So hopefully you've all had a good time, learned something, and are feeling vaguely inspired. I hope that you find the toolkit very useful. Again, please, please, please do come back to me with feedback. If there's anything I'm missing or anything's not clear, visit traveltradeready.net. There are lots of free resources on there. Don't worry about the premium services at this point, unless you happen to have marketing budget that you want to spend, and then you can go through testing your business against the needs of the travel trade. I would take a step back from that right now. That's a 2021 issue.
Yeah.
So again, thank you all, and have a great Christmas.
I think Paul had his hand up there as well. Since I don't know if Paul wants to shout out something at the last minute there.
Yeah, all I was looking at was the value of preparing itineraries for someone like myself who's an accommodation provider, and then forwarding that into the trade. Is it worth my while putting together a dozen good itineraries and then sending that off with my info?
Right now, itineraries are useful, but they need to be really loose. You cannot be prescriptive at this point, because we neither know when people are going to come back, in terms of what time of year, in what form they're going to come back. So I would say, yeah, absolutely have a sense of what you can offer, but don't be too prescriptive about it.
Smashing.
If that helps.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
People will need some form of a shopping list, because then they can come to you with confidence and go, so I've seen you can do this and this, but can you do this and this in that order? And it's going to be much more like that kind of year, I think, coming forward.
So I guess for me, the message there is that there are people on this call who could work together to put together ideas for activities and days out and added value for each place.
Please collaborate.
Good. I think that is a cheery note on which to leave it. Please collaborate. And I've been saying that for years now. So, you know, I don't change my tune much. But, you know, together it sounds a little bit, you know, but together we punch more than our weight. So thank you, everyone. Do the rest of your very sunny Thursday here in always sunny Murray Speyside. I hope it is continuing to sun in Hertfordshire, and we'll catch up soon. So certainly in the early new year, to make sure everyone's prepared for Britain and Ireland marketplace, for Explore GB, for ITB Berlin. So those are all the places where the travel trade is, and they certainly want to bring their business back to our region next year and beyond. So thank you, everyone.